Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will share with you a wonderful bag recipe that I prepared with spaghetti paper strings. Some people may remember that I actually shared this bag on Instagram before. I used the leftover threads I had. If you have such leftover paper threads on hand, you can work the way you want. You can get such beautiful bags by combining the colors you want in any order you want. Look, I made color transitions in the middle part like this. As for the side bellow section, look, I used a single color. This bag consists entirely of single crochet, and we will prepare it with an incredibly easy technique. We will knit this bag as a flat rectangular piece, and we will knit the side bellows together. That is, we will not make any extra knitting. Later we will finish our bag by making it a whole. The original version of this bag was the old season when I saw it on Pinterest, and it was sold in many famous brands. The handle of this bag was made of knitting, and it was very beautiful. It was prepared by making color transitions, but since I didn't have time, I quickly sewed leather handles because I wanted to use it quickly. But hopefully, when I return from the holidays, I plan to make a knitted handle for it. I hope it will happen. I can share it with you right away. I want to show you the bag closely. Look, it is a work made entirely of single needles. I have a hard time fitting a very large bag screen. It is beach size. But if you like to use large bags in daily life, it can be used easily in daily life. Look, I want to show it on the side. Look, it looks very nice. I shared with you step by step in detail in the video how much rope I used for our bag and the dimensions. I hope that will be useful. It's really a very easy and enjoyable job. Since there is such a color transition, you can't stop trying to finish this color, move on to that, etc. I prepared this bag in a very short time. I hope I will use it with pleasure. I hope you like it and try it too. I wish good luck to those who will do it. Before moving on to our detailed recipe, I would like to make a small request from you. I would be really happy if you could subscribe to our channel for free, like the video, and leave your comments. Let's move on to our recipe. I used spaghetti half paper thread from my bag. I used the leftover yarn I had. You can make it in any colors you want. You can easily create this work not only in color but also in 2 colors, 3 colors or monochrome. For this work we will need approximately 600-700 grams of rope. If you want to make the size of your bag smaller or larger, it is worth noting that the weight of the yarn will also change. I want to share with you the content of the yarn I used. The texture is very nice and the knitting is very easy. By the way, I would like to share a nice discount news from Spaghettia, especially for my subscribers. You can complete your shopping with a 10% discount with the Gulkan10 code, which you can use for purchases of 100 teraliters or more from spaghettia.com. I would like to thank Spaghetti, that is, his family, for this nice discount. Look here, I had knitted and prepared my bag before. Now I want to draw the diagram here and share the numbers and dimensions in centimeters with you. There may be people who want to take a screenshot. Don't worry about these measurements. You can work in any size you want. Our bag consists of single needles. Here we prepare a long rectangular piece, then knit the side bellows. After knitting the rectangular piece, we knit the side bellows and make our bag a whole. There will be people who will remember that we have used this technique a lot before, only with single crochet. You can apply this technique to different models you want. It's really very practical. Now, I started by making 25 chains for 24 single crochets, and these 24 single crochets gave me a measurement of 82 centimeters. Don't get hung up on the numbers here. The important thing is how many inches you want and how long you want your bag to be. You can play with the number of single stitches here. You can increase or decrease. By the way, even if we use the same crochet number, your measurement may be slightly different from the measurements I gave. It may be less or more. This will vary depending on our knitting frequency and looseness. Now look here, we have obtained a 60 centimeters piece with 82 centimeters long bellows. Look here, the opening of the side bellows is 9 centimeters, and when these come together, We have a side bellows of approximately 10 centimeters when these are closed. So the width of this bag is approximately 50 centimeters. The length of the bag is 82 centimeters. We can knit this and lengthen it later, or you can leave it like this directly. You will need to adjust your length accordingly. Look at the length of our bag, that is. The part that stands upright is about 38 centimeters wide and about 50 centimeters. As I said, you can play with these measurements as you wish. Do not worry about the number of rows and the number of single crochet stitches. If you notice that I did not give a number here, I gave you measurements. You can make the color transitions you want. Now, yes, the color I have made, I want to show the transition. I evaluated the leftover yarns in my hand. I worked colorfully. Look, I wanted to make the side bellows in a single color. I didn't want to tire the bag so much. I didn't want to tire the eyes. But these side bellows can be striped again because we are knitting the side bellows lengthwise. You can get a line-by-line image like here in this work. In other words, you can work 2 different rows, 1 or 2 rows in a different way, or in color, and you will still get long lines, but as I said, I worked in a single color. You can easily work this bag in a single color, in 2 or 3 colors. It only consists of single crochet stitches. Now, when I was making the color transitions, I knitted a maximum of 4 rows. I knitted 3 rows like this in between. I knitted at least 2 rows, a maximum of 4, at least 2 rows. Look, I adjusted the color transitions according to my taste and prepared a rectangular piece with single needle only. After preparing our rectangular piece, we will knit the side blind. We start as if we were making a color transition here. We separate the numbers. Here I want to say that we started with 124 single crochets, 56 single crochets. Look, I left 12 single crochets for the space between the side knits. We knitted this side with 56 single needles again. We completed it in 6 rows like this. I will be describing this in detail again while knitting this side knit again. This is how I adjusted my numbers. You also divide the total according to the number of single stitches you started with. It separates the 2 front pieces and your single needles for the side bellows part. You can make it as many times as you want equally. I hope that has been revealing. Let me keep it like this in case anyone wants to take a screenshot. Now let's start knitting. When working with paper thread, my crochet number became 3 millimeters. You can determine your own crochet number according to the thinness and thickness of your own yarn and the tightness and looseness of your knitting. I immediately start with the chain. After making the lock of my first chain, I made sure to knit it lightly. I am preparing my starting chains a little looser than the setting. Here I started with 125 chains. This number does not matter. You can pull your chains as much as you want. 10 centimeters longer than the length by cutting or removing the remaining chain. You can take it out until it reaches the size you want. That is, you can adjust the length of your bag according to how long you want it and the number of chains. Take a look here. Now that I will describe a small model, this much chain is enough. I turn the reverse part of the chain. This is important. If you sink the chains like this, look, we start knitting from this side. Then to knit the side gusset, we return to the chain point and knit from this side as well. That's why it won't be a beautiful sight if you sink the chains into one of its wings. So integrity is not ensured. It is also worth mentioning this. So what do we do of our chain? We turn the reverse part. We're going to use those dashed lines in the back. Here we will knit our single needles using these dashed lines right behind it. Now we leave the last chain we knitted and sink into the back cut line of the next chain. We made a loop. We have 2 loops, single needle. We dip into the back cut line of another chain and make a loop. We have 2 loops, single needle. Now look inside each chain, dipping into the back cut line. We knit single crochets in this way. I never shake my hand when working with paper string. Paper thread is not a thread that likes to be knitted very tightly. It is also worth mentioning this. In order to work comfortably, it is useful to keep our hands a little loose. Now I knit my long single needles like this until the end of the row. Look, I completed it like this until the end of the row. Now, as I said, if there is a chain left over, you can cut the rope here. You can dismantle it and finish the rope here, whichever you prefer. Now we will make the return. Stretch the loop slightly and see, I am making turns without a chain. I turn my knitting and sink into the first space that comes up. I remove the noose, squeeze again. I'm sinking into another void. Squeeze again. See it this way. This is what we will do next. The important thing here is where will we sink? This is important. How do we start? Because its smooth edges must be smooth for a flat rectangle. Look, we are advancing to the end of the line. Especially if you have started knitting for the first time and are going to do such a work for the first time. If you have problems with endings and beginnings, even if you know single needle, be sure to understand the endings and beginnings of such a small piece first. Once you understand this ending and beginning, move on to working in larger pieces. Because I want to ask you this, for example, you started with 10 single crochets. You need to count 10 single crochets and see where you sink and end in the next row. You may not experience problems with large parts because they need to be dismantled completely if there is a decrease or an increase, that is, if there is a wrong ending and beginning. We need to disassemble the knitting again and start again. Since we don't want this, let's grasp the model in a small piece. Then we apply the large pieces as we wish. Now look, it looks like a spike. The last single needle we will insert is also inserted into this point and we knit our single needle. Then we stretch the stitch again and turn our knitting. The first gap that comes up, look right at the last one we knitted. The top of the single crochet becomes the top of the single crochet needle. In the reverse order, it sinks into the gap and the single needle looks like this. Let's proceed to the end of the row. Now I will show you the color transition. You can work with the colors you want in the number of rows you want. Let's share a different color transition right away. See what we are doing at the end of the row. It looks like a spike again. This last point is quite obvious. Actually, look at it. We sink to the last point and knit our single needle. Now let's share with you the transition to a different color. While finishing here, after knitting the last single needle, I draw a chain like this. Cut my thread a little and remove the stitch like this, and then I tighten this chain. I will change the color here. I take a different color. I start with a chain. I create a loop with a chain. Just like we started, we need to start from the point where we finished. When you use this technique, there is no string left on either side of the colored work in this work. So there will never be thread like this. We will hide it while knitting anyway. It is a clean work. Now look what we did here. We finished, we turn our knitting inside out. And in this way we created the loop. I sink directly into the first space that comes up. First I fold the rope in the bottom row. Look, I remove the loop from here. After removing the loop, I also fold the rope of the new color. At this stage, this is important. Look, we have 2 loops. We knit single needle again. Now we put both ropes together. Now when you knit this, look, it's a clean start. We will knit these 2 ropes. There will be no rope left. When we switch to the new color and use the same technique, it will be a clean work. We only have this initial rope left. We'll hide it later anyway. Now look, I'm sinking into the next gap. We hold the threads on the crochet hook and hide them by keeping them in between. I'm inserting a single needle. Look, I'm inserting a single needle into the next spot. Let's show you that when the thread is hidden, you can't see the thread. A very easy example. It is created only with single crochet. We stretch the stitch again and turn our knitting and double crochet again. When you do this, if it is too much, remove your thread like this. When you pull it a little and then straighten the knitting like this again, the yarn goes inside. Look, it's not understandable at all. This is how we make our color transitions. You will knit the number of rows you want again. We will continue by tying our yarn in the same way as we tied the rope here and knitting single needles. Now look, we are making a flat rectangular piece like this. Then we do not break the thread while knitting this rectangular piece. I'll show you right away. Look, this is the first point I made. Like this, I finished here. Starting from this point again, I separated my numbers. How much will I knit to the front? How often should I leave the needle in the intermediate bellows? I separated this. I knitted 56 single crochet stitches in total here. I knitted 56 single crochet stitches. I'm counting here. Of course, you can highlight their locations with safety pins. I didn't continue after 56 single crochets. I went up, turned my knitting, stretched my stitch slightly, turned my knitting inside out, and then knitted 56 single crochets all the way back to the beginning. In this way, I knitted 56 single needles in 6 rows. By the way, look, I left 12 single crochets. What did we do here then? We started from here, we left 12 single crochets and returned from there. Here we will do the same here in the same direction that we started in the first row. It doesn't matter if it's the other way around. It doesn't have to be the same. After leaving 12 single crochets from here, we start from this gap. We knit 56 single needles again. We need to knit the same number of stitches here as we did here. We knit 56 single needles. Look here, we go back to the end of the row and continue this until we have 56 single crochets and 6 rows. As I said, you can also work them in color. I wanted to make it single color. I wanted it to be only medium movement. But if you work in color, you will still get this striped image. Now look at it open like this. I want to show you in a wider way. Look at my piece. Our bag is at a wide angle. We knit it lengthwise like this, and then we prepare the side blinds. By the way, what did we do? One of the side blinds, we broke the yarn we knitted. Our yarn remained here while we knit the second one. Look, I wrapped some of my yarn here so I can tie the rope again here. I will wrap the amount of yarn and join it from here. Then look at the other side. Did I knit the sidekick here and break the yarn here? Then I knitted the other side, and didn't I break the yarn? Now we will join. What am I doing? The reverse of this bag is not straight. You can use the side you want. Look at our bag. We will fold it in half. When we fold it in half, this is the open part. Look at the parts. It may seem very wide now. We doubled our bag. Our yarn is here. We did not break our yarn. Now we will move on to joining. Did I fix the stitch with a chain here? We knitted the last single needle, fix the stitch, we take this stitch to the end of the crochet hook. Now there are 56 single needles. Look, it is open now. We will combine the 56 single needles by making a single needle. What am I doing? Look at this side. The stitch is here. I'm sinking into the top of the first single needle. Then I took the stitch. I'm also inserting into the top of the single needle. It is necessary to insert mutually. I'm making a stitch from this point like this. I start with a single needle. Look, I'm inserting into the next single needle. I knit single crochet into the gaps again. I prefer to combine it this way. You can also make different combinations. I pierce the single needles on opposite ends and knit single needles again. If you want, you can sew it with an edamine needle. You can use the scrolling method. At this point, you can use a different color. This single needle can appear on the outside like this. The joining point is a nice work that we can modify in many different ways. Then see what we will do. After we combine it completely, this will be the base of our bag. It measures 9 centimeters at the base of our bag. It is approximately 10 centimeters. Look, we put it together like this and we are completing the side part of the bag. Now let's do it all the way to the end of the row. I will break our thread here and sew this part right away. I will share it with you. Look, I have come to the end of my row. I have joined the side blind with single crochet. I am sinking the last points with single crochet opposite each other. Look, we have a chain here in the last spaces. We knit our needles by dipping oppositely. After the single needle, I pull a chain like this and cut my rope here enough. We will travel around this while knitting a little. I left these ropes. Now look, at this stage it is also worth mentioning that after I finished my big piece, after I finished it completely, I ironed it well with a steam iron with a strong iron. There is no distortion. Now we have joined it here, and after we have completed our last bag, we can iron this steamy pile one more time. Now I have joined the two pieces facing each other by knitting single needles here. And look here, we have a base opening left, that is the bellows and the base. We average it like this. Look, now I have a short piece of rope left here. This will be enough. Again, I create a loop in a chain. It's like changing to a new color. Now I will connect the opening here again with the single crochet technique. Look here, I'm sinking to the last bottom. I'm starting from here. Let's put the short rope in the appropriate gaps and put them in the middle like this. I'm knitting a single needle. Look, I'm knitting a single needle in this opening, inserting it into each single needle mutually, inserting it into the appropriate spaces and connecting it with a single needle. I want to show it like this quickly. Look. We close this part with a single crochet like this. Now we will do the same on the opposite side. We will complete the exact process we have done here by cutting our thread here and completing it semi-blindly as in here. Now let's do the same on the opposite side. Let's make our bag a hole. Look, we have completed this side of our bag. I completed the other side in the same way. Later I attached a rope here and joined it here. I did not break the thread in the new ball while assembling it here. It is also worth mentioning that now look, we have joined it from the wrong side with a single crochet needle. Now we will turn our bag to the flat side. Let's push the sharp points of the edges with our finger. Let's do the same process on the other side. Then look, let's turn our bag to the flat side. Now look, we have turned our bag into a flat part. I want to show it at the joining point like this. We can iron these places again with an iron. See, the joining part looks like this. Now we have rope left here. See what we will do again. You can continue in a reverse order if you want. We have inserted the last single needles opposite each other. Now at this point like this, I'm pulling a chain. The one that comes right away will sink into a suitable space and hide the short rope. We'll knit my single needle. Look, we'll sink into the appropriate spaces. We will knit with single crochet at this point. Maybe we can hold it tight so that the mouth of the bag does not open too much. We just use single crochet again. If you cannot hold your hand tight, you can reduce your crochet number at this stage. Look, we will go through the mouth part completely with a single needle by dipping it into the appropriate spaces. I continue with this color. I use the color I used on the side bellows. If you want, you can finish at this stage. You do not have to use extra needles in the mouth part, but let it be more useful. It is useful to use single crochet so that the mouth part does not open as you use it. Now let's knit a row of single crochet and move forward to the point where we first started. Look, we have reached the end of the row by knitting a row of single crochet around the mouth of our bag. I want to knit a few more rows. If you want, you can finish at this stage and place the handles now. Look, I've come to the last point. I've knitted my last single needle here. The first single needle I started with, look at it like this. You can see the top point. I'm stretching my stitch. I'll continue in reverse. I don't want to break the integrity of the knitting. I'm turning it inside out. I opened it at the top of the first single needle. Look, I'm sinking at the top and passing this stitch through this point. Let's stretch our stitch like this. I'm moving forward by pulling a chain, inserting it into the top of the last single crochet we knitted, and knitting single crochet again in the reverse order. Now I'll knit a row in the purl row as much as you want. In this part, I'll make transitions like this and knit a row in the reverse row without disturbing the whole knitting, and then I'll knit a little in the small part. We will move on to the handle. Look, I completed our bag by sewing the handle. I applied 3 rows of single needles at the mouth. I want to show it closely by knitting 1 row from the plain, 1 row from the purl, and 1 row from the plain. Look, we're done. Finally, I finished my bag by sewing a ready-made handle. Since I wanted to use this bag during the holidays and did not have time, I used ready-made leather handles. But if you want, you can make knitted handles which can be knitted. I recommend you to do this. I plan to prepare knitted handles and mount them on my bag when I return from the holiday. I hope that when I make knitted handles again, I will share them with you. By the way, I will add the picture of the knitted handle made in different colors than this model on the screen. If you want, you can make it with knitted handles, again just by applying single needle. You can also prepare stems with thread. This is entirely up to your taste. This bag is beach size, but if you like to use large bags in daily life, it is also a suitable bag for daily use. There is no need to plant aces in it, so you can use it directly like this. I didn't make the mouth part snap or anything like that because it's a big bag, but snaps can be made, aces can be sewn, zippers can be made. This is entirely up to your taste. It's up to you how you want to use it. Our recipe was like this. I hope you like it and try it too. I would like to tell you the dimensions right away. Look, the width of our bag, excluding the side bellows, is 50 centimeters. He was 42 centimeters tall. As I said, we knitted it in 3 rows later. This is how we finished our bag. I wish good luck to those who will do it. Don't forget to like our video, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye until we see you in the next video.